It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So, a good performance.
Hi and welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. Right on the show today, the war of words between India and Australia is heating up as we begin the countdown to the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. Former Aussie greats have now stepped up to defend Ricky Ponting's statements in the exchange between him and India's head coach Gambhir. I'll get you the latest in all the war that's brewing over in Australia. In the football world, Honduras has been sanctioned after the coach of the Mexico football team was attacked and wounded post a Nations League game against them, highlighting the intense rivalry between these two footballing countries. And Sudan has created history. The war-torn country has made it to the AFCON, Africa Cup of Nations 2025 edition. What does this mean for them and who has been responsible for their success story? All of that heading your way, but first, let's take a look at the headlines on Sports 360. In cricket, Australia beat Pakistan by 7 wickets in their final T20 international match in Hobart. Batting first, Pakistan were dismissed for 117 runs. Australia chased down the target with 7 wickets and 52 balls to spare. Player of the match was Marcus Stoinis, who struck 61 of 27 deliveries. With this, Australia won the T20 series 3-0. Meanwhile, the Pakistan Cricket Board ended the National Women's Championships early due to a fire at the team hotel. The PCB had reserved an entire floor for the 5 competing teams and their officials. Most players and staff were at the National Stadium for the matches or practice sessions when the fire began. 5 players were in the hotel, narrowly escaped the incident unharmed. In football, India and Malaysia played out a 1-1 draw yesterday in a FIFA friendly. Malaysia's Paulo Josu scored the opening goal in the 19th minute. India's Rahul Bheke hit the back of the net before the end of the first half. With this result, India finished 2024 without winning a single match from their 11 games. Over in tennis, Italy beat Poland 2-1 to secure a spot in the Billie Jean Cup final. Poland's Świątek won her singles match against Yasmin Paolini. In the deciding doubles match, Paolini and Sara Errani defeated Świątek and Katarzyna Kawa 7-5, 7-5. Italy, 4-time champions, will now compete in the final on Wednesday. The Canadian Grand Prix will be held in late May rather than early June from 2026 onwards. This comes as part of Formula One's attempts to reduce carbon emissions. The rescheduling will cut down freight carriage transport by half and will reduce the overall Formula One carbon footprint. Australia loves a good confrontation, and I'm speaking purely about their cricketers. The Border-Gavaskar Trophy is just a few days away and the knives are all out. The mind games have started and India is already in the firing line. And it starts at the top with the head coach Gambhir facing the brunt of it. Now, normally, a series is always pitted between the two captains or the two most feisty faces in the lineups. This series is about the Indian head coach, Gambhir, versus the Aussie former cricketers. Now, we know how Aussie cricketers operate. They invented sledging and all forms of it, from bodyline cricket back in the old days to now verbal duels that begin off the field in press conferences, pre-match conversations and podcasts, television broadcasts, right up to when the players step onto the pitch. It's a never-ending war of words and the Aussies love it that way. It, of course, all started with Gambhir press conference and him retorting to Ricky Ponting's comments on Virat Kohli. It went something like this.
What does Ponting have to do with Indian cricket? I think he should think about Australian cricket and, more importantly, have got no concerns whatsoever for Virat and Rohit. I think they are incredibly tough men. They have achieved a lot for Indian cricket and they will continue to achieve a lot in future as well.
That was just the tipping point, and of course that set the two men on a warpath. Ponting, not one to bow down from a fight, even if it's a verbal one, was ready with his response that had a little more bite.
I was surprised to read the reaction, but knowing the coach, Gambhir, he's quite a prickly character, so I'm not surprised it was him who said something back.
And that, of course, got everyone to hop on to the Ponting versus Gambhir spite bandwagon. Tim Paine, Australia's former cricketer, who himself has the habit of putting his foot into his mouth on many occasions, didn't want to stay away from this raging debate on who called it right. He jumped in saying this.
I don't love it. I think he's maybe looking at Ricky still as someone he's playing against, but Ricky is a commentator now. He's paid to give an opinion, and his opinion was spot on. Virat has been sliding. It is a concern, absolutely. But for me now, the biggest concern for India right now isn't Rohit Sharma's batting, isn't Virat Kohli's batting. It's their coach and his ability to stay calm under pressure.
Tim Paine doing his bit to get in there and take a dig at Gambhir as well. That's what all of them are ending up to do. And he's not been the one alone in this particular thought. Many fellow Aussie commentators have jumped right in, voicing their opinion. Matthew Hayden, for one, Big Matt, has also come out in full support of what Ponting said.
We are paid to make an opinion, make a comment, and make a call about the game we know and love.
And so too, arguably, Australia's best keeper bat. Adam Gilchrist has been the latest to have shown his support to his former captain.
Punter can comment on anything he wants. I think he has earned the right to comment on most aspects of cricket. I love this. This is going to get the popcorn out for the rest of the summer.
You got one thing right for sure, time to get the popcorns out because the fun is just about to begin. This is just the start, and with each passing day, there will be plenty of jibes and moments that we will all get to witness. This is, of course, quite an intense rivalry, India versus Australia. Mohammad Kaif, former India cricketer, who's now a commentator, was quick to, of course, say that Ponting himself has found no success in India as mentor of Indian Premier League side Delhi. Reasons enough for them to part ways.
The IPL franchise owner must have felt Ponting no longer had good game plans. Now Ponting is a huge name. He is in that Sachin Tendulkar category. Now if a franchise tells him, "Thank you so much," and parts ways, that means they feel he is looking flat with his game plans.
Though these comments were made when reports, of course, of Ponting moving over to spearhead the Punjab IPL franchise came out, it just fits into the larger scheme of things of the tit for tat. But here's what I think about this war of words so far between Gambhir and Ponting. That's escalated in the days that we've seen. If Ponting had the right to weigh in on anyone he wished to and had earned the right to comment on any cricketer and the game that they all love the most, as all his supporters are coming out to say, Gambhir did exactly that. He asked Ponting to worry about his team instead of the Indian batters. Sure, that comment was a reflection on the history the two share and have shared in the past on the cricket field, but it was also Gambhir just telling Ponting to mind his own business, his way of giving Ponting a bit of a jibe. Maybe Gambhir could have found more innovative ways of doing so, and maybe that will come in time with the series getting underway in some days. But until then, this is banter. You'd not want any sort of banter to be absent in the run-up to the series. That's what gives birth to the interest and the avid following. Fans getting in on the action and players, of course, soaking in all the pressure. It all adds up to a blockbuster Australian summer against India. And that's what we are also prepping here for. And of course, we've got something very special lined up for you. I had the opportunity to get into an exclusive conversation with former India captain Ajinkya Rahane, man responsible for that memorable series win against Australia. So it was timely to have that interview heading your way. But here are a few snapshots on what to expect. You've captained one of the most historic wins India has ever produced. I don't know if we will come close to achieving that kind of a memory or moment ever. It will take a while, of course, but that's going to be close to my heart for sure. As a cricket follower, a fan, someone who's observed the sport, do you sometimes think you were born to be captain and somehow life couldn't give a longer rope for that?
I enjoyed captaincy. I mean, it was an honor for me to represent as a captain for the Indian team. First, it was in Dharamshala, and then it was in Australia. So that series was memorable. As you mentioned, historical series it was. I believe records are meant to be broken, and I hope I break that record. For me, it was all about whatever situations are there, I should be in the present moment rather than thinking about, no, I should be getting longer rope as a captain. It was never about that. It was never about myself. It was all about the team. It was always about the country for me. Credit goes to everyone. It is never about the captain. I always believe that it is always about the team.
Going back to the Australia series, I have to take you to the first test. What was it like? Just paint the picture for us, Ajinkya, because 36 all out at Adelaide. What was that dressing room like? What was the mood? What happened there? Can you just sort of take us back to that place?
It was really bad, really sad. We all were shattered. No one imagined that we will get out on 36, especially we were actually doing well in that test match. It was going really well, but you know, in cricket, funny things can happen. But what was important after that was to staying calm, you know, not doubting yourself, doubting your teammates, thinking too much about the game, but because I thought we were playing really good cricket.
Were there a few moments of few players who were sort of taking this to heart, and who were they and how did that move forward from there?
See, everyone actually was feeling really bad, you know, 36 all out, it was like a bad dream, but not any particular individual who was actually taking to their heart, and I thought everyone was really shattered, everyone was really hurt, but the way we bounced back, the way we came back from that was magnificent.
Of course, that was just a sneak peek. There are a lot of other behind the scenes moments and conversations, and a lot of conversations and moments from what happened in that very memorable series that Ajinkya Rahane spills his beans on. Of course, you can catch that exclusive interview airing on Firstpost on Thursday at 7 p.m. The CONCACAF Disciplinary Committee has sanctioned Honduras football team for an incident last week that has brought one of football's biggest rivalries to the forefront. We'll come to the details of the sanction in just a bit, but the rivalry I'm speaking about is the one that Honduras shares with Mexico. The two countries are not too far away. If you look at the map, both along a coastline are only separated by a distance of just 1,200 miles. But that's the thing about neighbors. Not every neighborly relationship is friendly. This particular one is feisty on the football field for sure, and that's putting it mildly. The animosity between Mexico and Honduras runs very deep. There have been instances of shocking upsets, heated clashes, and even episodes of extreme violence. It's a long-standing grudge where pride has often crossed the line into brutality. Last week, of course, this enmity reached its boiling point. Mexico played Honduras in a Nations League qualifier in a stadium in San Pedro Sula in Honduras. So obviously, the crowd erupted when the home side registered a commanding 2-0 victory over Mexico. But it was a night Mexico's coach, Javier Aguirre, would want to forget. After the final whistle, the coach made his way towards Honduras's coach, Ronaldo Rueda, to offer his congratulations. But what should have just been a simple handshake turned into this. Quite gory and gruesome visuals that. From the stands, a full can of beer was hurled at the Mexico coach. It struck Javier on the top of his head. The projectile split his skin, sending blood down his face, yet Javier kept his composure. Security, of course, rushed in to assess the situation, but he waved them off and carried on. Ignoring the wound, Mexico's coach extended his hand to Rueda. For Javier, this was of course nothing out of the ordinary or shocking. This was passion.
They deserve to win. They were better than us in areas. I've got nothing left but to congratulate them, and well, to try to lift my team's spirit. The other thing, there's no point in even mentioning it because, well, it's football. I'm not one to complain.
It's highlighted a rivalry that has been a deep-rooted one for decades. This was not an isolated incident, a rude welcome in some sense for Coach Javier, who took charge of Mexico in July this year, coming back for a third stint with this national side.
I trust my job. We are in a sport where results determine things. I think one of my characteristics is that I'm not afraid of defeat. That is something we must transmit. We must give them that confidence. We'll work to try achieve good results, but if it doesn't happen, it'll be okay. You fall, get back up and move on.
The Honduran coach too was horrified. He condemned the attack. It was supposed to be a moment of joy for Honduras, but the euphoria, of course, gave way to hostility. It should have been a triumphant evening for the home side, yet the focus shifted from their on-field heroics to ugly post-match scenes. The Mexican Football Federation did not take the attack lightly. They've issued a strong statement. CONCACAF also on their part echoed similar sentiments, and it was not too long before Honduras made a U-turn. While they called the incident regrettable, they wasted no time in shifting the blame. They accused Coach Javier, the Mexican coach, of being the real instigator. According to the Honduran Football Federation, the hostility was fueled by Mexican coach's provocative gesture. Their exact words. They said Javier was the reason why the chaos unfolded after the game concluded. Instead of damage control, Honduras decided to point fingers at the coach of the opposition instead, who was attacked, perfectly reiterating the bad blood that we see between these two footballing sides and countries that I was referring to at the start. The face-offs between these two countries in the past have often been marked by aggression and rough tackles, and their clashes and the outcomes have had a ripple effect. Back in 2013, outrage followed Honduras' 2-1 victory over Mexico. The match was played in the Mexican fortress. Mexican fans were enraged with a lot of the refereeing in that game in Azteca, which hampered their chances of qualifying for the World Cup. The 2015 Gold Cup quarterfinal clash was marked by rough tackles. The match saw a total of 32 fouls. The referees came under scrutiny for not exercising control over the game. In 2017 World Cup qualifier, Honduras' 3-2 win over Mexico sparked controversy. The match saw a disallowed Mexican goal, which led to a heated argument in the middle of the pitch. Tensions escalated when Mexican fans threw bottles and cups onto the field then. And this attack last week on Mexico's coach has had its ramifications too. Like I mentioned earlier, Honduras is facing sanctions now. The team will play their next game behind closed doors at home. In addition to the empty stadium order, Honduras' Football Federation has been fined for failing to ensure security during the game. And CONCACAF's statement also included a stern warning. Further incidents like this would lead to more severe penalties. For Honduras, the message is clear. While their away win have given them an edge on the fields, the incident itself leaves a bit of a stain on their reputation. Sudan's footballers are rewriting history books. Despite being torn apart by war back home, they've taken over the football field with much bravado. In a rare moment of hope, they've managed to clinch qualification for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. And this against the backdrop of a devastating conflict. The civil war has been raging since April 2023. It's killed 15,000 people, displaced millions. That's also obviously affected sports too. Since April last year, domestic football too has come to a grinding halt. The national team has been forced to play home matches at neutral venues. In fact, a lot of their training and matches took place in Saudi Arabia this year, a place far from home. So no home crowd to inspire them, no familiar turf to hone their skills at. Every game, an uphill climb. They were fighting their own situation before they could even think of taking on their opponents and carrying the weight of their country's struggles. They set on the near impossible task of making it to the AFCON. The final stretch of their AFCON 2025 campaign, in fact, was nerve-wracking. They needed just a single point from their last two games, but they were dealt a massive blow when Nigeria handed them a crushing 4-0 defeat. But there was some hope. In their final fixture, they played out a goalless draw against Angola and managed to secure a second-place finish in Group F, which helped them seal a spot in next year's AFCON. Now, in many ways, it lifted the spirits of a nation that desperately needed something to cheer for. Even in exile, the Falcons of Judayan have managed to make a resounding statement. The nickname of the Sudanese national teams, a reference to the bird falcon across cultures that we know, comes to symbolize freedom. In war-torn Sudan, the sense of freedom is a distant dream. Yet these falcons have defied all odds. Playing on foreign soil, far from home, they found it in them to cross the line and give their fans much to rejoice. A feeling that resonates with the team too of what this win means, not just for the sport in the country, but the people back home too who they've been playing for. In October, Sudan played back-to-back qualifiers against Ghana, one of Africa's strongest teams. They held them to a draw in the first match, and in the second, they secured a shocking 2-0 victory in Libya. These wins were crucial in helping them qualify for AFCON, and the person behind this resurgent display has been their coach, James Kwesi Appiah. Since James's arrival, Sudan has lost just 2 of their 14 matches. The former Ghanaian football coach has been key to the rise of Sudan. He's instilled a winning mentality in the squad. He took over the reins, in fact, at the Sudanese national team last year and has been working hard with the players since then. One of their players, Abubakar Aiza, as you just saw, he spoke to British media stating that the entire team's sense of belief, in fact, came from the top, came from the experienced James Appiah. For Sudan, this is a dream qualification, of course. And it is this sense of belief that's being translated onto the entire team because they have been able to do what many before them couldn't. Their journey in the AFCON, in fact, has been torrid. To think they were the first to host AFCON back in 1957, they either withdrew or failed to qualify for the tournament for decades from 1978 up to 2008. Their best effort, in fact, has been champions in 1970. After that, it was the quarter-final performance in 2012. This will be, in fact, their first AFCON appearance since 2012, but this is not where they wish to stop. The AFCON, like you heard from some of their players, is just the beginning. Their target, of course, is 2026 FIFA World Cup. The coach certainly believes they can, and they do so too. Time for last serve. Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal's bromance has broken the internet once again. Federer put out a heartfelt nostalgic note for Rafael Nadal as he gears up to play his last international match in Spain. Take a look at Federer's tribute to what we know is the biggest and best rivalry any sport has ever witnessed. Quite a privilege to have grown and witnessed this rivalry unfold in the years that followed. But that wraps it up here on First Sports. Do tune in again tomorrow. Till then, of course, take care.